Hi everyone, it's Mike German here from Visual Animation. I'm about to start commentary on this very exciting Field Force flyers that I'm going to show you how to build in just a second. So they're on the start line now, they're just about to go, they're off, and here they come, they're coming through the first bouncy kind of wall thing into the first hairpin. Who's in the lead as they go into the bollards? We have green with the with the black edge round. They're going into the first set of chicanes now, followed by red and some other colours, and it's coming up now, it's bouncing around, coming into the tyre wall, it's navigated lovely through the tyre wall, back down the home finish straight, back into these bouncy wall things that are trying to knock them off the track, and into this hairpin again for the second time, into the bollards. That's it. Okay, so that's how much I've just cached, just to show you this race. So shall we get on and make this exciting racetrack? Right, let's make these Field Force flyers. Now this is using something called a Field Force. I don't know if you've used that before, but I'm using it and showing you a really cool way of using this to turn your Cinema 4D experience into a kind of game. We can render this out and you can stick it online and we can do commentary on it and make it fun, but you can also use it as like a game. We can put these pieces onto the track, we can have different colors for different pieces for racing, and then we can just let it go. And because it's dynamic, because it uses rigid bodies and colliders and forces, it's unpredictable, so you'll have different results each time. This is not like putting pieces on a spline and letting them just race round in a predictable manner. This is using forces, so all sorts of things can happen. As the great Murray Walker once said, anything can happen, and it usually does, which he always used to say that, and something used to go wrong. So shall we get on and build this? It's there's 3 steps to this really. It's building the track, and then it's building the little racers that are going to go round the track, and then it's putting the forces on. That's actually going to give them the engine, basically the power to go round here. So I'm not going to be building every step of this today, because there's we've got a checkered flag on there, and start line graphics, and tyre walls, and all this stuff, and these things here popping up and down on the screen. I'm going to include this file below for a very small fee on Gumroad if you want to just grab this track and some other tracks that I've designed, and some other little racers as well. I'm going to put all in the pack there. So we're just going to do the simple version, showing you how the track's built and the flyers, and get it working, and then you can add all of your graphics and bits and pieces to make it a racetrack, if you want to take this any further. Right, so let's get on and start with a new screen, which is what we like to do. Rather than build on something, we start from scratch. Right then, so let's start here. What we first do is go to the top view, because we're going to build a very basic outline of a track. Right, so don't worry about this being spot on straight away. This can just be any shape you like, and then we're going to just modify it a little bit and make it more fun. So we choose the spline pen from over here, and then we just draw out a track. Now I find if you include a long straight, a hairpin, a chicane section, and a big sweeping curve, that kind of thing, then you've got all the elements of a good racetrack. So what I do is just start somewhere in here and just draw a line, click on it. Like I say, don't worry about anything at the moment. Let's just build something like this, nice and crude, and we come around here, there's the big sweep, and then we come back up, maybe a corner there, and then some infill, and then back to there. Right, so that's all you got to do, is just do that. Don't make it too technical right now. Right, once we've got that, let's go to the spline, and then where it says type, let's change Bezier to B-spline. Right, as soon as you change it, the whole thing smooths out, and it looks a lot more like a smooth racetrack. Okay, you've got these little points here. Look. So to adjust all of this, we can use something called a magnet. So what I do is go to M for menu, and then I. That's the shortcut. So it's M and then I, and now we can pull any of these little points, and it will pull it really smoothly. You see, got this lovely kind of flow to it. So you keep in this nice like racetrack feel. You're not having these horrible strange bad corners and things like that. So we can keep a really nice flow to this, and we can just extend it out, look, and it's got a really nice feel. So before we fine tune this, we need to add a profile and make this look like a racetrack. So what you do is we go to this these objects at the top, and I can never remember what to call this. I know these are objects, and these are probably just splines or something, aren't they? But so we go to the top one and we choose the profile. Okay, I don't think I've used profile in any of my tutorials until today, so it's a first for everything. I think there's a couple of firsts in this video actually. Right, so we have a profile. Let's first of all, let's change the plane to XY, and then let's take the height out to 0. Let's do about 40 on the setting. It does tell you what B, S and T is. It's how it measures this little profile, but if we just do it, you can have a look at that in the help if you want to look at exactly what these mean. So we have 40 there, 50 there, and say about 3 there. Okay, now what we do is we grab a spline, we grab a sweep, right? We're going to sweep this profile around the spline. So make that a child of the sweep, and then the spline underneath that one, so it's in the same group. Now as you can see, let's just put this into ground so you can see what we've got happening. Now all these black areas is where it's intersecting quite badly, right? So we need to make some adjustments to the track. Because if I go into perspective mode, you can see it started to make a really nice track straight away. And the reason we've used a profile, and the reason we've used an H, so I didn't mention that before, but don't change the type, keep it on H, because we've got this H shape, haven't we? And the sides of the H make really good walls to go around the track. You know, this seems to really work here. So whatever we're propelling around this track, it's got a little wall around it, and you can make that wall higher by adjusting these figures here. That we can have higher walls and lower walls. So I've decided to keep them a bit lower because we might want some of the pieces to come off the track, you know, to add to a little bit of fun, a bit like a Scalextric, you know, have things fly off. So yeah, you can have that as high or low as you like. Now, what I'm highlighting here is we've got these bad intersections, and it's crossing over here as well. Look. So what we do is we go back to the top view. And we always want to work on the top view for this because it keeps the spline on a flat surface. It doesn't rise up then in the Y. It just adjusts from one position, so we don't have issues like that. So if we go to the top view, go to spline. We now need to go to M and I again to get the magnet. So it's menu M and then I, and that gives you this big magnet tool. What we can do now is subtly just pull these little dots around like this, and then we can get all of these intersections where it's black. We can just pull this around like this and just like that until you have to just be a bit patient with this. Just keep moving them, and then you'll eventually, like that, look, you'll get it quite smooth. Now you can play around with this. You can make any sort of track shape you want, and corners and everything else, and it's all procedural. The way we're going to do this, we're not going to convert it to a line, curve, anything like that. We're going to keep it in a sweep object, and at any time you want to go, oh, you know, let's have this racetrack a different shape, let's have more chicanes in, more hairpins, let's change the shape completely, you can just pop back into here and then just make the changes like this. So you can create very quite a lot of different kinds of tracks very quickly. Okay, so you could call this one round 1, and then you could build another one very similar and call it round 2, and it could be where they race next. So just have a look, just try to have a look around where there's any little intersection pieces. Just move this until they go a lot smoother. So now if we look in perspective mode, we should have something that looks like quite a nice looking racetrack. Right, then we can enhance this a little bit more as well. In case you had some kind of angled corners and things, we can change the spline type from adaptive to uniform, and then we can increase the number of points there, so it really smooths out all of these corners. So that looks good. That's a really good start to have you know, any kind of track you want. You know, you can base it on a real Formula One track. But I think that's a good start. You know, to have a long straight, have a couple of hairpins in there. Look, some nice sweeping corners and some nice chicane areas as well. So it really makes these pieces that are going to fly around here accelerate and have to stop and speed up again and all of that. So it's going to feel a little bit more like they're racing, which is what we want. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step now is to create the racers that are going to go round here. Now what I've done in my example is used, and this is a first, I think using the profile was the first, and the second first is the oil tank. I don't think I've used an oil tank before. Anyway, let's use the oil tank. Let's put the radius down to 5. Let's drop the height to say about 7. Let's go in a bit closer and see what shape we're getting. Right, and now we need to, I think we need, what's the cap height, is it? Yeah, let's just have a look. Let's go in a little bit closer, maybe go a little bit like that, and maybe up a little bit more on the height, something like that. A few more rotations, so we get that. I'm just thinking maybe, let's go down like that. Okay, that's what I do. Right, so go 5 if you want this look. Obviously you can have any racer you like. You can use any object from here or import objects. You don't have to use these primitive shapes. But I think they're quicker, you know, and for this tutorial they're ideal to use this kind of thing. So yeah, I thought we'd go for, let's just tell you the settings again. We've got a radius of 5 centimeters, a height of 6, and then the cap height at 2, and that gives you this kind of little, like a wheel kind of disc thing. It's got, you know, it can rock around a little. So I thought that's quite a nice racer. So let's put that on the track. Let's make sure that we don't have it intersecting the track. We have it above and it can drop down onto the track. We don't want it to like pass through the geometry. All right, so let's make a few more. I don't think one's enough, so we can just simply clone some more. So hold down Alt on the oil tank and cloner, and let's clone more. Right, so let's bring in the distance between them. We don't want them to be that far apart. Let's have 2. So it's a bit like a Formula One race where you've got side by side on the grid, and then we can bring the gap there like that, and let's increase the amount we've got this way. So we can push it to, how many have we got there? We've got about 16. So we could go, let's go 10 by 2. So we've got 20 races. Okay, so there's quite a lot going on, very similar to like an F1 race, lots and lots of things on the track. Lots of collisions and colliding and pinging off the track can happen the more races you've got. So we go for that. Let's just rotate that slightly so it's in line with the track, so it feels like they're going to be racing on there. Look, I mean, it doesn't have to be spot on, but let's just kind of rotate like that so they're all going to be heading off in the same direction. Okay, so we now have a racetrack. Let's call that track. Rename it track. Let's tidy up a little. The cloner. Now for the cloner, we're going to add colours to these so we can see them all clearly. Who's winning? Who's come off the track? You know, you can have numbers on these and all. You know, you can add anything to these if you want these to become like your little races that you could see who's winning. But if we leave it like this, it's not very good. Let's add a few colours just so it looks good on the racing. So the best thing to do is just to make that editable now, just so it breaks all these up into their own. And let's call them all racer. Let's not call them oil tank. Let's call it racer, like that. And they'll all be called racer. And then we can just do racer 1, racer 2, you know, whatever you want to call them. Let's put it into standard render mode, just so we just make these simple colours now. We're not looking at, you know, the rendering at this point. Let's just make some nice simple colours. So let's just go for a red, like a Ferrari. Let's stick that on. Let's have a look what order we've got. So they're going that way. Maybe we want them to race this way. So let's probably go to that end and say, all right, we'll have that as a, and then the one behind it is. So you've got to kind of arrange these like this is what I do, is I would say, right, that's number 1. So we could like _1. Yeah, you can give them names if you want to do this, or you can give them like car numbers. And this could be _2. So they could be the 2 red cars in pole position. The other thing, yeah, we can stagger these as well to make it a bit F1 if you want to do that. See, the order's the other way around. I should have done this so they face that way. But anyway, there's a little bit of playing around to do here to get this to, you know, to get all your colours right and your numbers right as well. So let's just maybe just drop the colour straight onto the front here, and then we see where they are. Then we can just lift them up like that. That might be the quickest way. Yeah. But yeah, give it a team name. That would be really good. You know, give each one a team name and a number. And you can add, like I did on my previous example video, is I actually put a torus around the edge of these and then did one of them white and one of them black, so you could see which one was in the lead. You know, rather than having 2 red ones, you can see which one was which. So it's just a visual thing. It's something you can just add to at the end. So yeah, just create a few colours. Don't have to do all of this now. You can obviously do this in your own time. I was actually going to add that 2 there, wasn't I? So I could see where they were. So might speed this a little bit up actually, so you don't have to watch me do this, but I'm just literally going to make a load of nice colours and put them onto the racers. Right, I'm back. I've made myself a fresh coffee. I've deleted some of the racers. I've come up with some standard colours. There's obviously, you know, you can do whatever you like here. You can name them, you can multicolour them, anything you like. Anyway, so we're going to start off with that bunch of racers. Let's just have a look closely and see what's going on. Yeah, so they all seem to be kind of above the track, which is great. We don't want to intersect. And now we simply select them all, right click and add rigid body. Okay, so let's have a look on track. We need to add a collider body to the track. All right, so when we're on collider, let's just take off the friction. And now let's add 1,000 frames. This is probably the most frames we've ever had, because we can literally watch this live. These pieces all going around the track, you see. So you can have as many frames as you like, to how long you want this to go on for. Right, so if we just hit play now, as you see, this is going closer, as you'll see, that they will just drop, and that's it. So not a lot happening, not a lot of racing going on just yet. So how do we propel all these pieces convincingly around this track like they're actually racing? Like, that's the key here, isn't it? Is to use some kind of force to make these move around and have some faster than others, and you know, slow down a little bit if they get hit by others, and then they have to gain speed again, that kind of thing. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get them to feel like they're powered and they have their own engine, and we're doing it in the simplest way we can. So what we do, we add something called, you probably guessed it from the name of the video, we add a field force. Now let's go to the top view again, and I want to show you this. This is a visual thing only. This is not going to affect anything. This is just going to show you what's happening with the field force. So if we go on to we go on to display, we just want to make this bigger. So let's make this bigger. Let's just pull this along here, look, and let's make this cover the track. So we just go, you just do it visually, like eyeball it like this. We don't need to put it in precise sizes or anything like that. We just want these edges to like encompass the track, so we can see it all. All right, once we've got that, we need to put the line density up to 100, and then we need to uncheck the display vector length. Right, nothing's changed yet because we need to reference. If we go back to object, it's asking us here that to add in something in this field. Now the field force needs something to work with, right? And in this case, we're going to use the spline for the track. Okay, so as soon as we drop that spline in, that happens, right? Now, you can see now why this works, how this works. It's referencing that spline. So that spline, if you follow around the track, these lines are actually flowing round the track, okay? So these pieces should, in theory, now be driven around this surface, which is really fun. This is really a really good thing, field forces. You can use them in so many different ways. I thought this one is really shows it off of how we can influence it on certain shapes and splines and things. Right, so a few things to change is we want to keep add to velocity. There's 3 settings here, but we want to keep it on the first one. If we change it to absolute velocity, they will keep a constant speed. There will be a constant flow around the track, all exactly the same, and it won't be racing. So we need to keep it to add to velocity. We're going to bring the strength down, and the reason for that is, bring it down to about 1, is we're going to check this consider mass. Now what this does is it looks at, and if we just click on one of the racers here on the rigid body, where it says mass here, look, it's got a density of 1. Now what this is doing, it's going to take the mass of the object into consideration when the dynamics are applied and it's going around this track. So if it has more mass, it will be a slower object, okay? So if we look at the say the red ones are the fastest, say they're the Ferraris, I know it probably should be Mercedes, it all changes, or the Red Bull, obviously. But let's just say for this example, the 2 red cars, the 2 red markers here are the fastest. So we could keep those at density 1, okay? Now, if we look at the next ones on the grid, these green ones, if we highlight both of those, we could say these are 1.02, for example, right? They're slightly heavier. And we could do this throughout the grid. We can make each car, whatever you want to call these things, each racer slightly heavier. Each pairs of racers slightly heavier. Like their teammates. You could say, right, the yellow racers are 1.04, something like that. Okay, and we've got the green ones here. They could be 1.07 and so on. Let's just fill them all in just so they get bigger, just so you'll see what happens on the screen. So we've got 0.07, we've got 0.08. The next pair we could go 1.1, go into that category. And then, I'm not sure these are in pairs now, are they? But anyway, I'm just showing you the principle of what happens. 1.1, something like that. So basically they're starting off, the ones at the front of the grid here are the lightest, and as they go towards the back of the grid, they get heavier. That also means that it could be down to acceleration and speed. Yeah? So the mass is going to affect the speed and acceleration. So the lighter the object, the quicker it's going to go round and the quicker it's going to accelerate after slowing down. The ones with the most mass are going to be slower and take longer to accelerate. So this kind of feels a bit more like a race, like it's based on real race cars. So with that said, we get to the fun bit. Let's turn off the field force now. That's just really a visual, just to show you what's happening. So go to display and say uncheck the box. So we've got this nice clean screen to look at again. Now let's go to perspective mode, because we start to now see the edge of the track and how these are going to propel around. Right, so let's just make sure we've got everything correct. We have add to velocity, strength of 1, we're considering the mass. There's a couple of things to do here on the spline. Click on the spline, go to object, go to layer, not object, go to layer, change segments to whole spline, and then change the offset to 100. Okay, because if we don't, it will stop somewhere around the track. We want this to be a continuous flow around this entire spline. So I think we're okay with everything else. Let's leave it on direction, because I want to show you what happens here with the invert direction. Right, so are we ready? Are we ready for the off? Are we ready to lower the checkered flag and let these race? Right, so let's press play and see what we get. There they go, look. But they're actually going the opposite way to what we wanted. We wanted the we wanted the red ones, which are the fastest cars here, to go first. So we wanted that to be this way round. So we just left it on direction, haven't we? Invert direction. So if we click on spline, we click on direction, then we check invert direction, we will get these to race anti-clockwise. Okay, so off they go that way instead, look. So as you can see, without making any more adjustments at the moment, this is looking pretty nice, okay? The red ones have got less mass. They're probably going to open up a gap between them and the cars behind, right? So as you can see that the two red ones are now sticking together because they've got the same mass. Things change a little bit when they go into the chicane areas because they can get bumped around and they can slow down. But generally speaking, the red ones are racing off together. You know, they do gather. Okay, so there's your 1,000 frames over already, you see. So you could go 5,000 frames. Okay. Obviously it'll be a lot of render time, but you don't need to render this. At this stage, you've got yourself a little game that you've created within Cinema 4D. Yeah, so this is why I find this fun. It's not just about rendering out some little videos or some stills. It can do this as well. You know, you can create this nice little game. So yeah, have fun with this. Like I say, below there's a link to Gumroad. It's a couple of dollars. There will be a lot more tracks in there. There will be some other graphic pieces. There's some other little 3D models that I've made, like a start line and some tires and some bollards and all that bits and pieces are all going to be there. Some different racer types as well that I've included in there. So if you just want this to be ready to go, click on the link below and grab those. If not, have fun building this. This is a fun thing to do, and think of all different ways that you can slow these racers down. You know, you can have holes in the track, you can have physical things in the way, you could have slower, you know, you could have it like a reverse order, you know, like we had originally here. If we go back to field force, we can say invert direction, and we could have the slowest cars at the front, the fastest ones at the back. That might be more interesting because they'll try and come through the field, right? So if you've ever watched racing, you'll know, you know, when cars pit stop and they're faster, they then have to make their way through the field. So now look, we've got a reverse grid, we've got faster ones at the back, look, pushing into the other ones, trying to find a way past. So that might be a more exciting way of doing it. But yeah, think about, like you've seen in my example, having obstacles on the track, having movable obstacles that they can bump into, that can slow them down temporarily, let others pass. It adds to the excitement of the race. So have fun. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Grab the tracks if you want all this stuff instant. If not, have fun building this. It is quite simple, as you've just seen. Right, so my name is Mike German from Visual Animation. Let me go off and do some more commentary. Let's go and practice a bit more commentary, and I'll see you very soon in the next video, probably using some more dynamics. I think we're going to stick with dynamics because I really love them. It's a really good part of cinema, isn't it, the dynamics? So I'm going to stick with that, come up with, I don't know, some more rigid body stuff, or if you've got any suggestions of things that you haven't mastered and it's in the new system 2024 and you want to learn that, put that in the comments below as well, and I'll look at it, and if I get enough people say they want that, I'll make a video on that one. My name is Mike German from Visual Animation. Take care. Goodbye for now.